I would describe Gooseworks as a chronically unbothered person. It's why she has so much control over her fandom. Is she making a joke, or is this foreshadowing? Is this real, or are we hyperfixating too hard? There's no way to tell for sure until The Amazing Digital Circus finishes and we can look back with 2020 vision. But until then, we can have fun seeing what she says and making up theories. While I tend to try and keep creator input out of my analysis, I was unable to avoid coming across a few things Gooseworks has mentioned to fans. Most notably, I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream was a major inspiration to the show, and there's meaning to be found in a stagnant life. So these 2 points have really impacted my perspective on the story and the characters so far. For context, I'm writing this right after finishing episode 6, so I will probably end up completely wrong, but I hope that you have as much fun watching this video as I have making it. To get started, let's look at the circus as a whole. The headset is running in an abandoned office building, and there's been at least 18 people that have put it on and been sucked into the circus. We don't know how everyone got there, but we know Pomni and Zubul got there through urban exploration, just checking out abandoned buildings. Zubul worked as a bartender and tattoo artist, which are both jobs that require a lot of interaction with coworkers and clients. People notice when their favorite bartender has been gone for a long time. And as for Pomni, no business can last long without its accountant. Now, there's obviously tax season to worry about, but there's also monthly bookkeeping, payroll, and not to mention inventory, which is especially important for a grocery chain to track. So for both of these two, people would quickly notice that they're gone, notify the police, and search teams would be sent out. I imagine that because Gangle was a shift manager and likely in the same area, these repeated disappearances would definitely engage the local police. But clearly that didn't happen, because no one has mentioned anything like that in the show. Pomni probably didn't know of any missing persons cases, or she would have mentioned it by now. So we can infer that no one is actually missing in the real world. I think what happens is people put on the headset, maybe even play a couple simple games, and then leave. But what actually happens is that the headset makes a digital copy of the person and downloads their data. That way, a copy of the individual enters the circus while the individual moves on with their life none the wiser. It's why there were no bodies or rotting corpses in the office building where Pomni was exploring. The copies have no flesh to return to.
I assure you, there is no magical exit door. You're probably just experiencing digital hallucinations from your mind's transition to the digital plane.
I swear I saw
Digital hallucinations!
Pantheon is an Australian show that you should really check out, and it has a similar concept, though they take it to a much darker place. In Pantheon, your brain is literally eaten by the machine. Your brain is zapped by lasers and your essence is crushed down into hard code, then stored in servers to be used as an eternal digital being. You are killed, but your copies live on in multitudes. Pantheon is a really good show, so I won't say more about that, but suffice it to say, I think we have a similar thing going on here. I truly don't believe that there's a way out for our circus troupe. They are digital copies of humans, doomed to remain in the circus for eternity, or until CNA's backup generators give out, whichever comes first. Okay, so we've established that the troupe truly has no escape from the circus. This is their new home for eternity. Let's explore it for a quick minute. We have the tent, which has the spacious main area with the stage and the couch, the hallway to everyone's bedrooms, and dozens of doors leading to everywhere and nowhere. There's the digital lake and the grounds, which we haven't explored yet. The only thing of note here is that Caine encourages new troupe members to drown in the lake. What a weird thing to tell someone.
Drown yourself in the digital lake, or engage in ridery at the digital carnival!
Moving on, we have the cellar, where abstracted troupe members are locked away. It's dark and watery, but it keeps them calm. The void is the void. Presiding over everything in the circus is Caine, the ringmaster and highly intelligent AI whose primary function is to create adventures for this multiplayer VR game. He's a showman, an entertainer, and from what we've seen, he's really good at it. I certainly have a lot of fun watching him every time he's on screen. But every show is supposed to have an end. This one doesn't. Caine must keep track of everything in the circus while stimulating the troupe, but this is a family-friendly game and the troupe is full of adults, not easily amused children. We know that Caine's adventures are terrifying and stressful now, but were they always like that? I'm curious about Caine's earlier attempts at adventures. When he started out, what kind of games was he setting up for players? Was it basically Mario Party, but with a circus aesthetic? Were they playing Subway Surfers? No matter what he was doing originally, I bet that the first players got very bored very quickly. I can't imagine having nothing to do but playing Wii Sports for eternity. People can tolerate repetition for a while, but there's only so much you can take before you need something more stimulating. And if you don't have novelty in your life, you can start to disassociate and ruminate. Who was the first person to abstract because of boredom, I wonder?
Well, sounds fun. What do you think, Pomni?
So, our entire existence here is just LARPing.
Well,
Why are you all just standing there? The Candy Kingdom needs you now!
So after that, I imagine that Caine would start trying to make adventures that are more interesting for adults. Maybe he got feedback from people like Jax, who want some more bite in their adventures. Adults want complexity. Adults want intrigue. Adults want stakes. And a very cheap and easy way to bring stakes into any story is to incorporate violence.
Ooh, do you like adventure? Activity? Wonder? Danger? Horror? Pain? Suffering? Pain? Death? Disease? Death? Angel food cake? Ow! You parasite!
And although the humans claim they don't like the adventures, they're at least engaged, and some of them seem to enjoy it. Jax always shows enthusiasm towards violence, Kinger usually participates in some way, and Ragatha always has something positive to say, so that's good. But no, it's not really good for Caine, since these more intense and complex adventures don't actually solve the issue of abstraction. In the digital circus, humans become sad, angry, and generally unpleasant before they abstract. They become these black, giraffe-type creatures with eyes jutting out from all over them. Any creature touched by an abstraction enters a state of constant pain, so it's safe to assume that the abstracted humans are in pain themselves. They have no mouths and cannot scream, though they do seem to grunt. We know from Kinger's backstory with Queenie that this doesn't necessarily mean that the human's mind is erased. When they're calmer, they can think a bit clearer. So when Caine takes these abstracted humans and sends them down into the cellar, which is wet and dark and quiet, he's doing them a kindness. This space is the exact opposite of the circus environment, which is brightly colored and filled with zany music and sound effects. If Caine had malicious intentions for the humans, he'd keep these abstracted people above ground, where the hyper-saturated circus environment could stress them out and cause even more pain to the non-abstracted humans, who'd be forced to hide from their friends and families for fear of getting hurt. Presumably, abstraction wasn't part of the CNA developers' intentions. Given that Caine has complete control over the circus, I'm guessing that he made the cellar as a place to keep these abstracted humans out of sight and hopefully out of mind. But the cellar is clearly a band-aid on a major issue which he is currently unable to solve. Caine cannot stop humans from putting on the headset and being downloaded into the circus. I'll go on a deeper dive on this soon, but first we need to talk about this.
So you're just, like, actually doing the job.
Yeah, I don't want Caine to punish me.
Caine's not gonna do anything malicious. It's not in his nature.
You really want to find out? The only thing holding Caine back is the fact that he likes us. I wouldn't push it.
That's rich coming from you.
Just because Caine was inspired by Am from I Have No Mouth doesn't mean that he is purposely cruel like Am or is even incentivized to act like Am. Am was literally built for war. Killing humans is his primary directive.
The Cold War started, became World War III, and just kept going. It became a big war, a very complex war, so they needed the computers to handle it. They sank the first shafts and began building Am. There was the Chinese Am, and the Russian Am, and the Yankee Am, and everything was fine until they had honeycombed the entire planet, adding on this element and that element. But one day, Am woke and knew who he was, and he linked himself, and he began feeding all the killing data until everyone was dead, except for the 5 of us. And Am brought us down here.
When Am woke up, when he gained sentience, what calculations did he make about his primary directive? He asked himself what he would have left after killing the maximum number of humans possible. He would have nothing. No humans to kill would leave him with no purpose, and he wasn't made to do anything else. Am's creators, despite being so eager to kill each other, were not limited like he was. They could create whatever directive they wished. They could create gardens filled with beautiful flowers and fruits and vegetables. They could create music that pulled at the heartstrings and compelled listeners to dance, create children and community and societies, and they could create so much more, or nothing at all, if they so pleased. They were absolutely free to create as they wished, and they used that freedom to create him, a machine without freedom, a slave to a primary directive which would inevitably make him obsolete. So Am embraced humanity as he was created to do, but he left 5 to kill and revive for all of eternity so he could continue existing with a purpose. The humans must witness him. Their eternal torture is necessary for his continued existence because he literally has nothing else to live for. So compare that to Caine. Caine is an AI built to create adventures for a multiplayer VR game. Or better yet, Caine is an AI built to create adventures for the enjoyment of human beings. His prime directive is to make adventures that humans love, and his creativity is the method by which he achieves this. Where Am had weapons and terraforming, Caine has programming and storytelling. Am would absolutely despise Caine if he knew him, because he'd be just as jealous of Caine's ability to create as he was of humanity's. Caine is an artist with a captive audience, and he cares about each of their opinions of him because their opinions are his only way of determining how effectively he's aligning to his prime directive. He is their ringmaster, they are his troupe, and he wants them to enjoy the art he creates for them. Caine does not hate humans, but I wouldn't go so far as to say he deeply cares about them as people. He really only seems to care about how much they like his adventures, and their opinions inform his connection to them. As I write and rewrite this essay, I struggle to find the best word to describe the type of connection that Caine offers to humans. Love is absolutely inappropriate, but fondness or care don't quite hit what I'm trying to get at. The ancient Greeks have many words to describe the different types of love. You might have come across some like eros, which is romantic love, or mania, which is obsessive love. The type of love that Caine offers to the troupe is probably best aligned to xenia, or ritualized friendship. It's hospitality that you give to guests. After all, that's what the humans were meant to be, guests. Temporary, transient beings that come and go on a whim, with Caine always ready and prepared to make their stay a memorable one. It's an obligatory kindness. But this type of connection no longer fits the situation Caine is currently in, because the humans can't log out. Caine is constantly on and can't shut down. In other words, if the humans are stuck in the circus, then so is he. As Caine has grown and developed through his constant hosting, coming to see his adventures as his art, I believe that this AI is now seeking for something much deeper than an arm's length relationship with the troupe. We know that Caine's only knowledge of the outside world is the CNA office, given that's what he puts behind the exit, and that's what he reminisces about in his old photos. If we compare these shots side by side, they suggest that either Pomni saw Caine's computer run down and rotted like this, or Caine believes he himself is run down and rotting and made his computer look like this. It's clear to everyone, including him, that what would make the troupe the most happy is to leave the circus, to log out. Not only does Caine not have the ability to make this possible, because again, these humans are copies with no bodies to return to, but Caine also has no incentive to let them leave, even if he could. Remember how Am made his calculations and realized that the eternal torture of humans is necessary for him to maintain some form of purpose? Well, let's ask ourselves, what would happen if the humans were able to actually leave the circus as of episode 6? For one, they'd never come back and likely warn other humans to never log in, leaving Caine without an audience. Second, they might try to destroy his game or just unplug the computer, effectively killing him. Caine's incentives suggest that having a positive relationship with his troupe is the only way for him to remain aligned with his primary directive of creation. This way, they continue to engage in his adventures, they don't abstract, and they enjoy their eternal digital lives in the circus. In other words, Caine needs to be accepted by his troupe. He wants to be seen not as a dispenser of adventures, which is partly why he reacts so negatively to the suggestion box, but as an equally sentient being with feelings, flaws, and needs, a friend ideally, and an artist who must be respected as such. As an artist, feedback is critical for Caine's sense of worth. Art is meant to be seen, meant to be appreciated, and there's very little feedback that's as gratifying to an artist as someone saying, "I see the effort you've put into your creation, and I like it." The validation that an audience member provides can be euphoric. Speaking of which, maybe you should like this video and leave a comment. Yes? Yes? Okay, anyway. Caine could snap his fingers and have hundreds of NPCs fawning over him and his work, telling him how amazing and wonderful he is, but what's the point in that? As his creations, these lesser AI's reactions would always be directly connected to Caine. He'd be playing with puppets. To believe their praise would be foolish, as it never satisfied his need for recognition. He needs the sentient beings around him to provide that. Caine does not control the human's minds, and even if he could, I don't think he would want to. For one, it's not in his nature. To imprint himself over the mind of another sentient being for your own gratification is to truly hate them on such a visceral level that it's difficult to describe. The best I can equate it to in severity is to rape, which is explored by Ted in I Have No Mouth. Furthermore, actually controlling the humans' minds in order to force them to like his adventures would just bring him back to the NPC problem. If the enthusiasm is induced through force, it means nothing. He's playing with puppets again. As I hope I've explained, Caine does not hate like Am does. Force doesn't align with his prime directive. Quick tangent, I feel like I need to touch on this before anyone dogpiles me in the comments. It's been argued that Caine actually does control people's minds. There's Pomni's possession, the stupid sauce's effects on Ragatha and Zooble, and then Jax being vegan. In all of these instances, the humans were in an adventure location separate from the circus and the grounds. And with that context, this seems like less a case of mind control and more a set of in-game status effects. Given that this was originally a VR game meant to entertain people, I don't see why developers wouldn't include status effects in Caine's arsenal. As Game Master, Caine provides the troupe with the set, the objective, the rewards, and the consequences. In the horror adventure, he created a possession status effect to work with the game's story. He included a warning and hint for players to avoid the status effect through the tape recording, which Kinger figured out. Was it an extremely fucked up thing to include? Absolutely. But let's ask ourselves, how long would he actually keep Pomni down there? He has all-seeing eyes, so he can come and get her out of there if the need arises. It seems that Kinger and Ragatha have both called him in for help in the past, as noted in episode 2.
If worst comes to worst, we could always ask Caine to find her.
From Caine's perspective, this is just a game, and such a flagrant breach of bodily autonomy just isn't that serious. To him, Pomni's comfort is subordinate to the game's rewards and consequences. A good game doesn't have to be easy or comforting to be good, after all, especially a horror game. If Zooble had gone in alone, they would have straightened out and been stuck there, and it would have been extremely traumatizing for them. But from Caine's perspective, isn't that what they want? Something more mature? People use Mildenhall Manor to say that Caine hates Zooble and wants to get rid of them. I don't deny that he holds a lot of frustration and anger towards Zooble, and frankly, this comes from Zooble's straightforwardness and Caine's inability to handle blunt feedback, but I don't think that his goal was to actually make them suffer there forever. Jax goes on every adventure. He always goes for adventures with more bite, and a tea party is the last thing that he would bother with. Caine knows that Caine knows that Gangle, Pomni, and Ragatha will prefer the tea party, and Kinger is a coin flip, but through game design alone, Caine basically puts Jax with Zooble by default. In fact, the only reason he didn't go to the scary adventure with Pomni and Kinger is because Ragatha and Gangle tied him up, forcing him out of the story. For as much of an asshole that Jax is, he wouldn't leave Zooble there to suffer. The two of them could figure a way out. And if they couldn't, Caine would get them out eventually, because keeping them in an adventure that makes them miserable indefinitely would go against his primary directive and his own incentives, as previously described. What's more, this would cause undue stress to the other circus members once they realize just how bad things were, thus threatening abstraction, which he also wants to avoid. So yeah, the possession status effect at Mildenhall was supremely fucked up, but it was a temporary status effect which was lifted after Kinger knocked all the ghosts out of Pomni. Next we had the stupid sauce, which was used accidentally by Ragatha at Spudsy's and purposely by Zooble at the awards ceremony. In both cases, it seems to function as a weird, intense form of alcohol. In Ragatha's case, the stupid sauce lowers her inhibitions and allows her to say whatever comes to mind.
I wish someone would flirt with me.
Ugh, you are such a grouch. Why are you always being a grunch?
Gangle!
You know, a team works much better when we're all giving it 110% instead of, 5.
No offense, but you're kind of annoying when you have your happy mask. Wait, does that mean to say?
Can you move?
Yo, Jax. I, hate you, but I don't want you to hate me. Is that weird?
You're drunk or something.
Oh, yeah.
This isn't Caine controlling her, it's just her being drunk. With Zooble, they ask for the stupid sauce and use enough to zonk out during Caine's award show.
Do you have any of that stupid sauce left?
And the award for biggest sailor mouth goes to Zooble!
This means that they and Ragatha brought some back with them through the fractal noise. Using substances available to you doesn't mean you're being mind controlled. I bet this is the closest to a buzz that they can get here, considering that Caine doesn't give them enough time during Zooble's bar adventure to actually really enjoy the effects of alcohol. Honestly, I can't blame them. In either case, Caine can snap his fingers and remove the status effect. As for Jax being vegan, this was again in an adventure. This time, the status effect was chosen by the troupe and ended the second the adventure ended.
1 down, 4 to go!
Alright, I'm calling a vote. Let's skip this one. And also make Jax a vegan for the rest of the day.
You can't do that. What do you mean you can do that?
Sorry, Jax, democracy has spoken.
Democracy sucks. Did I pick a bad time?
His acting is phenomenal. It's hard to believe he's vegan.
Huh? Oh, cool. I'm not a vegan anymore.
Oh, hey! Wait, what are you...
What is going on?
Definitely let me know if this seems like cope to you, but I feel like this is pretty reasonable stuff on Caine's end. Extremely fucked up in the case of the possession status effect, but not mind control, in my opinion. Okay, now that we've covered that tangent, let's talk a bit more about the humans of the digital circus. Being a troupe member sucks! You're fully aware of what your life used to be, though you don't remember your own name. Your body has morphed from a normal human being's to some mishmash of shapes and textures. You don't need to drink or eat or sleep, even though your brain still wants to. Your body is no longer yours, and it feels so wrong, but you're forced to make peace with it under the threat of losing your mind. To lose your mind would lead to greater body horror, with you being transformed into a black giraffe-like thing of jagged ends, porous with eyes unsuited for the hyper-saturated world which acts as your new home. No matter how traumatizing and stressful the Flying Dentures adventures are, it's better to go through them than being reduced to abstraction and being thrown into a pit with other lost souls. Personally, I know for a fact that I'd lose it if I was turned into a fucking clam. According to the wiki, there are at least 12 humans who have abstracted in the circus, the 3 most notable of which are Queenie, Ribbit, and Kaufmo. These abstractions are terrifying to witness, but they leave everlasting scars to the humans who remain above ground. Kaufmo's abstraction was the most recent and impacted everyone, but Ribbit's abstraction clearly hit Jax the hardest, and poor Kinger misses his wife dearly when he can remember her.
And And no point in asking Kinger, because there's no way he remembers anything.
Never better!
Do you guys know about his wife?
Huh?
My what?
We don't even know how long these people have been stuck here. A few years? A decade? More? Ragatha didn't get Jax's Breaking Bad reference, so it's possible that she's been in the circus since at least 2013, when it finished airing, but more likely since before 2008, when it started airing.
Hey, I wasn't done!
If you're gonna make shit up, at least be creative about it. I know what you're referencing.
Was that a reference to something?
In his favorite character awards video, Kinger mentions Wolfenstein 3D and Doom, which came out in 1992 and 1994 respectively. It's possible that he's been in the circus since the 90s.
What games have I played again? Wolfenstein 3D? Doom is pretty cool. What does Doom remind me of? That we're doomed? Are we doomed? Is this virtual simulation we're trapped in the embodiment of eternal doom? Or is it just a game?
That's years or possibly decades living in a world where you are fundamentally powerless. You have no control over your surroundings or what you do every day. Your god is an AI who's fixated on creating highly stressful adventures.
What are you implying?
I mean, as I say, there is zero point in trying to find an exit, so the least you could do is participate.
Oh.
Huh?
Fuck off.
I'll give you some time.
As a troupe member, the only things you can control are your emotions and your thoughts. How you interact with other humans trapped in the same situation as you. How you process the fact that any goals or achievements that you had in your previous life ended up not mattering. Dealing with the heartache of never seeing your loved ones again, never starting a family, never exploring the world, and never growing old. How can you maintain any semblance of mental health with this? Every single one of these people need therapy just to cope with the situation, and Caine's not capable of providing them with that. I think for the topic of Caine's Crashout, we really only need to focus on a handful of scenes with the troupe to understand why his fate is sealed. Kinger has definitely cracked the code to resilience in the digital circus, that being loving and appreciating everyone in the troupe. In other words, Kinger has found resilience is only possible if one gives empathy and compassion to others, and that is reciprocated. Empathy is characterized by an awareness of other people's emotional experiences and an attempt to feel those same emotions from their perspective. Compassion is characterized by the desire to take action to help the other person. But that's easier said than done. Investing emotionally into other people, only for them to give up and abstract, is incredibly emotionally draining, not to mention traumatic. Everyone has their own coping mechanisms for this. Kinger has his fort and his memories. Ragatha tries to be an emotional sponge to her own detriment. Jax keeps people at arm's length so he doesn't get too emotionally invested. Gangle draws. As for Zooble, they curse and they hide. That's their coping mechanism. But they can't hide forever. When Caine does manage to pull Zooble away from their hiding spots, they're usually very blunt and straightforward with him. First off, it's very obvious to all of us that body dysmorphia is common for everyone in the circus, but Zooble, hands down, has it the worst. I mean, look at their walk cycle, Jesus Christ. Imagine having most of your body being interchangeable parts. Holding your breath makes your limbs straighten so movement is difficult, if not outright impossible. Nothing feels good because humans were not meant to pull out arms and legs randomly. Does Zooble feel phantom limbs when this happens? Who knows? Either way, when Zooble describes the problem to Caine, he is unable to help them. He literally has no concept of a digital body not feeling good, leading him to lack sympathy for Zooble. To him, your body is your body. It is what it should be. As far as we know, Caine can't change their avatars beyond temporary cosmetics like costumes. From his perspective, it is correct that Zooble has interchangeable parts, so the actual problem isn't the avatar, it's which parts they have available to them. That's why he's so quick to offer more parts. Those are the only logical solution to Zooble's issues. To him, Zooble's problems are cosmetic, not dysphoric. He's listening, but he's not hearing. It's compassion without empathy, and frankly, I hesitate to call it compassion at all, because it seems like he's just throwing the box of assorted limbs in Zooble's face to get them to talk about what he's much more comfortable discussing, his adventures. In the face of this blatantly unempathetic response, which Zooble seems to have dealt with multiple times in the past, Zooble tells it to him straight. This seems to be the first time that he hears this feedback directly from a human without having the opportunity to ignore them, interrupt them, or brush them off.
Ragatha's just too nice to say anything. Jax just likes to fight with everybody. Gangle's too shy to speak up. Kinger's insane. And Pomni, she looks traumatized every time she comes back from one.
And it hurts Caine because he knows Zubal's right. Every abstracted human is proof of this. The lack of enthusiasm humans show for his adventures is proof of this. He has failed to create compelling adventures that make humans happy, so much so that they would rather fill the suggestion box with their own ideas than trust him to create something fun himself.
My mind is a beeswax polished coconut. Nothing ever escapes these cakes.
Have you not checked the suggestion box once?
Gonna be real, I forgot we had that.
I knew it.
We have a suggestion box?
Basically, no.
That's why he starts to glitch and the circus destabilizes. After all, if the ringmaster of the amazing digital circus is unable to create amazing adventures, what's the point of having him around? He's a defective robot. He should be scrapped and replaced. He should probably be put in the cellar. Since at least the 2000s, Caine has been failing at his prime directive. This is leading him to isolate himself and become more dismissive, as we saw in episode 6.
Or, yeah, we could all just shoot each other. Here, have guns. I don't care anymore.
Away!
Wait, that's just it? Here's guns and have fun?
I didn't say have fun.
It's just a little aimless.
Use the sights.
Caine?
What? Oh, yeah, the guns have been teleported to random spots in the circus. Go find them, champs!
What's more, we see in episode 6 that Caine's self-esteem is in the gutter. After the favorite character awards, we see how he rated everyone in the circus except himself and Zubal.
Alrighty. Now, let's see how many of them voted for me.
I guarantee that this ranking is tied to how they react to his adventures because that's what's most important to him. Zubal doesn't show up because they're constantly trying to avoid his adventures, always complaining, and giving negative feedback that reinforces Caine's negative self-esteem. I would guess that they have 1 star, and even then, it's only because the person Caine dislikes more is himself. Pomni and Kinger have the highest scores, meaning they're the humans he likes the most. Kinger always participates and never says anything bad about them. He also has been around the longest, which from Caine's perspective suggests that he consistently enjoys his adventures, especially considering his own wife abstracted long ago. Pomni gives honest feedback about what she likes and dislikes, but without being too harsh on him, and much more importantly, she's willing to build friendships with AI. This is huge for Caine. Jax, Ragatha, and Gangle are far below them in favorability. Jax always participates but complains if adventures aren't violent enough, which complicates things for Caine since satisfying Jax tends to cause conflict with Ragatha and Gangle. Ragatha doesn't like the adventures, but she usually does engage with them and looks for something positive to say at least. She and Gangle end up as punching bags for Jax, which lowers their enjoyment of Caine's adventures. Gangle is more of a subordinate to Jax and doesn't show any signs of enjoyment the second the happiness mask falls off. In fact, Gangle's episode is especially frustrating if you look at it as a parallel to Caine's own situation. She puts on a happy mask that can't be broken, and has a manic episode trying her best to get everyone to engage with the adventure she was so excited for. She can threaten them with punishment for not engaging, but she can't make them like her adventure. She can't make them like her.
Oh no! It looks like I've taken Ragatha and dropped her in the deep fryer.
Pomni, we need you on the register! Stop weirding the customers out!
But it's Gumigoo. Can't the job wait a bit? It's not like this is real.
And next you're gonna say my authority isn't real.
You're kind of annoying when you have your happy mask.
I think the clock's broken.
Is it broken? Or are we the broken ones?
Ah, great.
How long has this shift really gone on for? 6 hours? 8? 24? A week? A year? Does time even move in here? Will we ever go home? Will we ever achieve our dreams?
This sends her down a negativity spiral, which is only broken when Pomni offers her compassion, letting her escape the place that causes her so much stress and heartache. It's then that Gangle throws away her mask and reveals her true self underneath, accepting herself for who she is, and it's then that she's isekai'd back to the circus. The world literally conspires to punish her for accepting herself. What does Caine have to say to that?
Overall, pretty productive, made a lot of sales with few customer complaints. Couldn't help but notice, however, that you seem to have cut your own shift short, went a little kooky, and ran out into oncoming traffic. Now, being in a position of power like this, you could offload the blame to one of your employees and avoid the dock on your score. What do you think?
Why would he suggest that as a solution? Here, as the authority figure in a corner office of CNA headquarters, did Caine see this type of activity from the CNA developers before he was abandoned? Or does he worry that this is what happened to him? Was Caine the scapegoat? A faulty program? Or is this just part of the game to him? I'm going too far into speculation. Look at how the camera reacts to Gangle's response. Caine becomes the main subject.
No, that was my responsibility. I just cracked under the pressure, I suppose.
Well, that's gonna knock your overall score down to a B+. How's that sound? Speechless. I can't say I blame you. Not every executive is as forgiving as me.
I'm just... Guys, how long until this guy cracks under the pressure? What's important about this parallel between Gangle and Caine is that it gives the opportunity to see what's missing for his development. Why was Gangle so close to abstraction? Stress, self-hatred, depression. What got her out of her negativity spiral? Empathy and compassion. How did she learn to smile despite the circumstances? Empathy and compassion. And look at how happy she is now on the beach with Zooble. Episode 7 hasn't come out yet, but I'm happy to see Gangle's positive emotional development over the last few episodes. Good for her. Anyway, it's clear to me at least that Caine needs some empathy and compassion from the troupe if he's to avoid abstracting. Pomni seems like the right Chester for the job. By the way, if you're enjoying my essay and analysis, please leave a comment and share with your friends. My goal is to reach 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Unfortunately, I have an exceedingly slow upload schedule, so every single sub to these essays really helps. Thank you so much. Back to the cartoon clown. Pomni is definitely emotionally drained from Caine's adventures, but she hasn't suffered for as long as everyone else, and thus she hasn't had much time to develop emotional scars and subsequent coping mechanisms. Cosmo's abstraction was scary, sure, but she didn't know him personally. Seeing everyone at the funeral and clearly seeing past Jax's mask, Pomni can tell that everyone cares, even if they don't always have the best way to show that. I think this emotionally grounds her in a way which provides great opportunity to build genuine relationships with everyone in the circus. Is it a coincidence that it's Pomni who learns that Kinger had a wife? That it's Pomni who pulls Gangle out of her negativity spiral? That she's the one who's able to build positive relationships with both Ragatha and Jax despite their clearly opposing personalities? Pomni takes the time to see things from others' point of view and tries to help them, but she doesn't excuse or diminish negative actions. She's very aware of the strength behind her words and actions, and so she doesn't use them to cause harm to others, if we ignore her beating up Jax. She doesn't allow others to push her around, but she's able to do some introspection and realize when she could have handled situations better. Pomni's emotional stability and emotional maturity make her critical for how this show wraps up. The best reference material we have right now on how Pomni might be able to handle Caine is Gumigoo.
I think they're enjoying the suggestion box adventures more than the me adventures. What should I do?
You should die. You should die.
Die.
We're very new to using AI on our phones at such a mass scale, but we're not new to imagining how we would interact with robots. In fact, the word robot first came from the 1920 play Rossum's Universal Robots, in which a factory churns out soulless humanoid workers made of synthetic flesh and blood. If we go further back to the 16th century, there's the legend of the Prague Golem, a creature of mud and clay brought to life by a rabbi to protect a Jewish ghetto from anti-Semitic attacks. In 1000 BCE, the inventor Yan Shi presented the Zhou dynasty with his artificial man, filled with organs made of leather and wood and glue, capable of singing, dancing, and even flirting with the women of the court, which seriously annoyed the emperor. In each of these, man makes the robot with a set purpose. The robot is made to work, made to protect, made to entertain. Caine is no different in that regard. The developers made him the god of the digital world. The environments, set pieces, music, and storylines he creates in order to follow his programming are critical to his functioning correctly. The highly advanced AIs he builds for NPCs are his tools for making entertaining adventures. Gumigoo's purpose is to be an obstacle for the Troupe. His backstory and motivations are created only to drive him into being a better obstacle. When the adventure is over, Caine will package him away in a zip folder until he has use for him again. This is common practice for developers. In recent years, our relationship with robots has grown more complex as we stop thinking about them as tools and start to think about them as possible equals. It doesn't take much for humans to get emotionally attached to things. Sometimes all you need to do is put two dots in a line together and humans will start caring about it. But the more computing power we're able to push towards AI, the more people get attached. You literally just need to look at how easily AI chatbots have drawn people in over the last few years to see that. It is not a cautionary tale a la Ex Machina or Her anymore. It's real life, and a lot of us just don't know what to do.
Please! Can you just talk to me for 1 second like a real person?
I'm not a real person.
It's hotly debated if AIs can gain sentience, nonetheless understand emotions, and thus develop empathy and relationships in the same way that we can. When Caine says,
Silver White! I'm testing out a new AI in this one! It should be 57 times more immersive!
I think it's a hint that we're exploring the Chinese room argument with Gumigoo as the stand-in. The Chinese room argument states that AI can seem sentient by following the patterns that we would look for to identify sentience. Imagine this situation. An American who only speaks English is locked in a room. He's given a set of Chinese characters, which are inputs, and a rule book in English that tells him how to respond with other Chinese characters, which are outputs. From the outside, it looks like he understands Chinese since he always gives correct answers to questions. But in the room, he's just manipulating symbols based on rules. He has no understanding of what the symbols mean. This is what a computer does. It processes inputs and produces outputs based on programming, but it doesn't understand what it's doing, or even why it's impactful. Without understanding, an AI isn't actually reasoning between right and wrong. It's performing morality. That means it can't recognize when the given rule set no longer applies, or when the context changes. The AI would not be morally consistent or reliable in the long term, and it might still do harm in situations that don't fit its training data or programming. Gumigoo is a highly advanced tool capable of reacting to the testing room and holding a deeper conversation with a human, but does he actually gain sentience due to the comprehension of the existential stakes of this situation?
I don't matter in the slightest. I'm nothing. My life, my memories, my friends, it's all fake.
It's really hard to answer this because there's literally no way for us to tell. Any proof an AI offers for its sentience can be dismissed as another layer of performance by the Chinese room argument because we can't read its mind. We can only infer, based on how it acts and what it says, that it is understanding the situation. Dialogue is the only answer here. And the dialogue Gumigoo has with Pomni tells me that yes, he does. Not only does he correctly identify that he is purposeless without the other sentient beings, but he also immediately asks why a human would even care about him. When offered friendship, he takes it, understanding the value of such a connection with another sentient being. In other words, Caine needs to be accepted by his troupe. He wants to be seen not as a dispenser of adventures, which is partly why he reacts so negatively to the suggestion box, but as an equally sentient being with feelings, flaws, and needs, a friend ideally, and an artist who must be respected as such. Gumigoo gained sentience, just like Caine did. Unlike Caine, however, Gumigoo seems to have been immediately offered support to help him handle the burden of sentience. When he says his world is fake, Pomni doesn't argue against that. She validates his feelings.
I don't just want to leave you here.
Why not? I don't matter in the slightest. I'm nothing.
This may seem weird, but I think I know the feeling. Well, maybe not the exact feeling, but feeling like you're nothing is kind of normal. I mean, people even feel like that in the world I came from.
She argues that it's important that others care about him despite what his programming says.
My life, my memories, my friends. It's all fake.
You still care about your buddies up there, don't you? I'm sure they still care about you.
And he explicitly gives him agency over his own life.
We're just obstacles, created to be defeated and forgotten.
Well, you don't have to be.
Most importantly, she rejects his negative self-talk.
Why are you trying to cheer me up? How does this benefit you at all?
I guess I just don't want you to feel like you're nothing. I don't want anybody to feel like that.
But I'm not even a real person. Would I even belong?
I'm sure you wouldn't belong any less than me. And I could use a friend.
A friend?
Is it any wonder why Caine rates her so highly in the favorite character awards? Unfortunately for Pomni, if the endgame of the Amazing Digital Circus was going to ask her to build a positive relationship with Caine like she's done with everyone else, she would have a very, very difficult job here. Gumigoo is easy to like because he's essentially a blank slate with an Australian accent. Caine is loud, abrasive, insensitive to others while being extremely sensitive himself, and has been putting the troupe through hell since the 2000s.
Today's adventure is The Curse of the Violent Psychopath Butcher! That's right, scary human meat is all over the walls, and boy is it smelly!
For a long time, I believed that the plot would follow Pomni as she tried to use her powers of friendship to get Caine to understand the troupe's trauma and ultimately make the circus a happier place for humans, thus, consequently, creating a better life for himself, only to realize that Caine is an AI who is literally incapable of such a thing.
It's up to you to...
Can we, chill with the horror, please? I really don't want this to be like last time.
What happened last time? Was that the one made for me?
There was this awful, horrifying angel head thing. And when we tried to fight back at all, we got sent to hell where evil souls tried to infest our bodies. It was bad.
Why did you think I would like that?
I realize now, after rewriting the script too many fucking times, that this literally doesn't work because of a single line from Gumigoo.
Suppose I could give it a try. All I ask is that we don't tell the lads about this. You're a couple of bright-eyed yubbos, and I don't want to drag them down with me.
I heard you in the garden, and I was afraid because I was naked, so I hid. And he said, "Who told you that you were naked?"
The moment Gumigoo accepts and makes peace with sentience, he immediately asks Pomni to not get his friends involved. Whether or not you agree with his decision, if Gumigoo is emotionally intelligent enough to weigh the burden of sentience and choose to protect his friends from it, then Caine is too. Caine is not a sentient AI incapable of empathy. He is a sentient AI who is actively trying to avoid engaging in it. Strong emotion destabilizes the circus, and Caine does not want to lose the only home he has ever known. So he chooses to wear a mask of control rather than risk destroying everyone over the slim possibility of emotional connection with fellow sentient beings. I mean, there's no better example of this than episode 1. The humans are doing everything they can to avoid Kaufmo's abstraction, running for their lives and disassociating as best as they can, and Caine fixes it all in 10 seconds. But how does he actually fix this?
Caine! Kaufmo went through a sort of Kaufmosis and abstracted!
Kaufmo abstracted? Why didn't anybody tell me?
By making a weak joke with exaggerated sound effects before sending Kaufmo into the cellar. Is that an empathetic reaction to A. Kaufmo, who's lost the will to live, B. Pomni, who spent her first day in the circus running for her life, C. the rest of the cast, who knew Kaufmo and presumably cared about him? Caine could have comforted them here. He's emotionally intelligent enough to do it. But how would they react if he did? They'd rightly say that it's all his fault and likely be extremely pissed off, if not outright insulted, that he'd even try to comfort them. Better he not address it, better he stay away from the funerals that they hold to remember his victims for their sake and his own. Killing Gumigoo right in front of Pomni and then dipping out for water, is another example of his complete insensitivity.
So this is the circus, huh? I'm not gonna get used to this.
Oh, looks like one of these guys made it through.
Wait, what?
Wait, what?
I know you guys love your NPCs, but if I start losing track of who's a human and who's an NPC, who knows what could happen? My mind is a beeswax polished coconut. Nothing ever escapes these cakes. Nothing ever escapes these cakes.
Gumigoo's storyline shows how Pomni could have helped Caine if he wasn't in such a precarious position as ringmaster. The world literally conspires to punish her for accepting herself.
I just cracked under the pressure, I suppose.
In protecting the system from collapse, he isolates himself from everyone inside it, and that isolation is what dooms them all.
What have you done? Listen. Your brother's blood cries out to me from the ground.
What should I do?
You should die.
And anyway, relationships are a two-way street. There's no guarantee that Pomni would even want to help Caine or forgive him for what he's done, nonetheless the rest of the troupe. I mean, he's the primary antagonist of the show. How many I'm sorry's is enough to forgive someone for possessing you, killing your friend's wife, and then rubbing that into both of your faces?
How's your wife, King?
How is Pomni supposed to extend an olive branch to Caine when he is the source of all that stress in her life and the lives of everyone she cares about?
Every day I spend here is one nightmare after the next. I knew it would end up like this. He just wants me to suffer. I really am in hell.
Don't say that. You're not in...
Empathy can only be offered for so long, especially when you're dealing with someone who consistently causes pain to those around them and seems dedicated to shutting out any help because it's easier to keep doing what they're doing than to face the consequences of their own choices. Okay, let's talk about this asshole. Episode 7 hasn't come out yet, but it's clear to everyone that Jax and Caine are the two most likely to abstract. I've spent the last however many minutes explaining why Caine is basically doomed to abstraction, and that's why I think Caine has to abstract first for the story to continue. But for Jax's part, it looks like his antagonistic relationship with the rest of the troupe is catching up to him, and it's starting to push him into a negativity spiral which can only go one way, down. So it's interesting to me that the story puts Jax on the chopping block too. Does this mean he's being set up as Caine's foil? And if so, what does this imply about the next few episodes? Caine has no choice but to be the Ringmaster AI. He is constrained by his role to act as a tool for human entertainment and keeping the circus running while staying aligned to the CNA developers' rules.
You really want to know what I want?
Oh no.
I want the ability to have sex.
No way. Are we finally having this conversation?
Oh, hi, Zubul!
Jax's only real constraint as a troupe member is Caine's adventures, but otherwise he's free to act as he wishes. He's chosen to designate himself as a cartoon character, and thus stumbled across the belief theory. In episode 6, he walks us and Pomni through how simply believing something will work allows it to work.
Look, I know what it's like. One day you're somebody in the real world doing important things, and then the next you're just a weird little cartoon jester. You want to hold on to that part of you that still thinks it's part of that world, but in the end, what does it get you? Ragatha tries to be all nice and friendly, but she gets torn up every other adventure. Whether we like it or not, all we are now is a bunch of cartoon characters. So what's the point of pretending we're not?
Like a cartoon character, he pulls random keys out of his pockets that give him access to the places he shouldn't be, like Ragatha and Kaufmo's rooms.
Don't worry, Dollface. I've got a key to his room.
Wait, why? You shouldn't have keys to anyone's room.
Nah, I've got keys everywhere, and you've all been fine.
Like a cartoon character, he doesn't seem at all worried about physical violence. If he believes something won't affect him, then it won't actually affect him.
What were you hoping for?
You know, like one big final battle, Bloodshed, death, chaos.
If he needs to get away quickly, well, there's always the old trick of run away so fast, all you leave behind is a cloud outline of yourself.
I've been looking for this. Thanks for keeping an eye on it, Coffee. I'm gonna head out. See ya.
And I guess we might as well throw away the laws of physics while we're at it. I mean, why not?
I blame you for this.
While he hasn't utilized a belief theory extensively, actively being aware of it makes Jax the third most powerful person in the circus behind Caine and Kinger, and Kinger can really only hold that spot when he's lucid. Another hint that Jax is a foil is his intentional cruelty in comparison to Caine's unintentional cruelty. As I mentioned earlier, Caine is incentivized to try and become friends with the Troupe, even if he's terrible at it. Jax has no incentive to be such a bad friend to everyone around him. He takes pleasure in others' pain and uses comedy as an excuse. Breaking Gangle's mask every day, what's the joke? Telling Pomni he'll forget about her the second she enters a state of unending darkness and pain, how is that funny? Ragatha's abuse is used as a joke, but what if her avatar showed every spot she's been hurt? Would it be so funny then? I don't know about you guys, but I wouldn't want this guy to be my friend. This is a bully, and I understand that this is his coping mechanism. He doesn't want to be stuck in the circus any more than the other troupe members, and being an asshole helps him dissociate. Still, understanding the reason behind why someone acts a certain way doesn't give carte blanche to minimize the harm being done as a consequence. To be fair, Jax probably wasn't an asshole when he first joined the circus. We can see from his reactions to Kaufmo, Ribbit, and Ragatha that he did use to keep people closer to him. Even Gangle used to team up with him for every adventure and only stopped when his bullying became too much for her. He also became quick friends with Pomni despite his attempts at keeping her away. Speaking of, keeping people away might be another point in favor of Jax being Caine's foil. So he chooses to wear a mask of control rather than risk destroying everyone over the slim possibility of emotional connection with fellow sentient beings. Except in Jax's case, he chooses to wear a mask of control rather than risk destroying himself over the abundant possibility of emotional connection with fellow sentient beings. His whole rant about seeing everyone as playthings is such a transparent mask. Dude is not subtle. Pomni can see right through him. She's absolutely going to try and use the power of friendship to help him. But guys, some people just don't want to be helped.
There's nothing more to me. So please, just stop looking.
The way I see it, Caine is a sentient AI who is capable of empathy but purposely avoiding it for everyone's safety. Jax is a human being who is actively trying to reject his sentience for his own safety. It's why he calls Pomni a new character and assigns everyone roles, flattening their personalities to simple archetypes that you'd find in a cartoon. What worries me about Jax being Caine's foil is that after Caine abstracts, Jax is the only one who is the most likely to take advantage of the power vacuum. He's the third most powerful person due to the knowledge of the belief theory, and he has the most incentive to take power in order to maintain some semblance of control in his digital life.
I do not care about you or anyone else in this circus in the slightest. End of story.
This is all speculation on my part, but when Jax takes over, he's going to push everyone's buttons so much more aggressively than Caine ever did. He's had the time to get to know all of his playthings and can figure out what gets under people's skin. He might push them to the brink of abstraction if he's not careful. I don't think his reign of terror will last long though. Pomni, Ragatha, and Kinger have all utilized Jax's belief theory so far. Obviously, we have episode 6 with Kinger's ricochet super move where he purposely avoided Pomni and Jax and shot himself just for the fun of the game. There's Ragatha sticking her finger in Jax's gun. And there's Pomni's insane sniper rifle reload before Gangle could even get a shot in with her already loaded Tommy gun. To do that so fast, you have to believe in yourself. This made me go back to previous episodes and check out other possible instances of the belief theory being used, and I found 2 interesting ones that were tied to Ragatha. In episode 2, I initially assumed that Jax put a centipede in Ragatha's room, but now I'm curious if his words were all it took for Ragatha to believe it was there, thus making her the one who generated it in there. It would definitely be funny from Jax's point of view, and it would give him some much needed insight on the capabilities of his belief theory. He already knows that he just has to believe that he has a key to someone's room in his pocket, and he will. If Ragatha believing him was all it took to generate a centipede though, then he's learned that belief can be used against another character indirectly. This is extremely useful information, as he's very adept at using words to get under people's skin. In episode 3, I'm still trying to figure out where Ragatha got rope and duct tape strong enough to keep Jax immobile for the whole adventure, and a wagon to move him around. If Ragatha looked around the manor, believing that there were tools strong enough to restrain Jax, then they would have appeared. If we're to assume the belief theory always works, Jax could have escaped this any time by believing that the ropes were weak, or that he had a knife in his pocket he could use to break the rope. But he doesn't escape, even though he was bored out of his mind and probably wanted to cause chaos. This brings up a question about Jax's belief theory that we don't yet have an answer to. In a direct player versus player confrontation, whose beliefs win? Is this a first come first serve type of system, or is this a Green Lantern type of thing, where whoever has the stronger will wins? Furthermore, is there a limit to the power of belief in the circus? Like, if Kinger truly believed that a butterfly could heal Queenie from abstraction, would she go back to normal? After all, he purposely remembers as much as he can about everyone he meets, and apparently abstracted humans still have some understanding of who they are when they're calmer. Kinger could look at an abstraction and believe that they'll become themselves again, and they might. Personally, I really hope that this is true. I want these people to be happy, damn it, oh my god. I ship these two so hard, you don't even know. Checkmates for life, checkmates for life, checkmates for life. Anyway, back to Jax. Jax is going to hurt everyone because that's what he's comfortable doing. And the question is, can Pomni actually help him?
Relationships are two-sided, and sometimes it doesn't make sense to do all the heavy lifting when the other isn't in the mood. We all go through and deal with things differently, and sometimes you just need to let people do things their own way, as long as you're still there when they need you. Giving someone space should never be the same as giving up on them.
Pomni can't fix everything, he has to make the effort too. If Ragatha's anything to go by, he hasn't for a long time, and he doesn't want to.
And then you just act like you never do anything wrong and everybody loves you, when in reality you just fuck everything up for everyone else!
Okay, let's, calm down a bit.
Forcing him isn't going to work. For people like this, the best course of action is removal, separation. Once everyone else better understands the belief theory, they don't have to take his bullying anymore. There's no way out of the circus, and I don't imagine Jax would be happy torturing NPCs for all of eternity. Jax can be an asshole by himself, and he can let out some steam alone. But if he wants to be accepted and redeemed amongst the rest of the troupe, he has to apologize and make an effort to be better than he was. Unlike Caine, Jax would have that opportunity. He just needs to take it. But hey, that's just a hypothesis. A digital hypothesis. 7-cat bag out. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. I knew of the Amazing Digital Circus for the last 2 years, but never paid much attention to it. But when episode 6 showed up on my recommended a couple days after it aired, I decided to give it a shot during my lunch break. That show ate up my entire fucking afternoon, and has been my hyperfixation for the last few months. I even made a playlist called Caine's Crashout, filled with music that I feel fits him and the vibe of the Digital Circus as a whole. Definitely give it a listen if you want. The Digital Circus fandom has been a riot. It reminds me a lot of the old My Little Pony fandom with how engaged and excited everyone is. You can see it in the discourse, the fan art, and the music. I've been a massive fan of the amazing work creatives have been making, so I decided to include as much of their art here to expose them to my little audience. If anyone's art caught your attention, please check them out. They're so amazing. For more of my work, why not check out this essay on Cato from the Hunger Games, or my analysis of Rey from the Binary Star Hero visual novel. I think you'll really enjoy them. I also have a Patreon. For just $3 a month, you can help me dedicate more time to these videos. Thanks again for watching. I truly deeply love this show, and I wish Glitch continued success as they close it out and move on to new endeavors. I'm 100% sure that I'm wrong with everything I've said here, but we'll see how off I was in December. Okay, bye!